Nurse, did you watch it? I said, did you watch it? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Let's become fighter jet pilots for the Malawian Air Force. Yeah! Tom Cruise. Honestly, guys, I was not ready for this movie. With all the reboots, rehashes, and all this stuff we've been seeing of late, I actually gave this movie a really poor prognosis when I saw the trailers. But honestly, it proved that this guy rarely makes any bad movies. And he's still a movie star. But before I get ahead of myself, let's just get right into the history of my patient. In 1986, a movie directed by Tony Scott was released by Paramount Pictures. This was an action movie starring the master of smiles and jumping on couches himself, Tom Cruise. Oh, and he loves to run too. Forgot about that. The movie was called Top Gun. Here, he is an ace pilot called Lieutenant Pete Maverick Mitchell, a naval aviator working on the USS Enterprise air carrier. Maverick and his radar intercept officer, Nick Goose Bradshaw, are allowed to train at the US Navy's Fighter Weapons School, also known as Top Gun. Now, I'm just giving you a brief history of the previous movie. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of it, but just know it kicked major booty at the box office. The movie really did blow expectations and many people became fanboys of this series. Even now, it's a cult classic with people still giving it praises. As I said before, it was a box office hit, grossing about $356 million on a $50 million budget. Imagine that. Its soundtrack was so good it became 9 times platinum. This movie won a Musical Academy Award and a Golden Globe. And despite me thinking this movie was okay, this movie has been loved and cherished for generations. Then, 3 years ago, out of the blue, a sequel was announced for this franchise. The trailer was simple and didn't show much, and to be honest, no one was really hyped about this movie. But then we watched it, and now we go into the presentation of my patient. So, over 3 decades have passed since Maverick was in his last adventure. Since then, he has been in various platoons, has numerous citations, and has refused to be promoted simply because he loves what he does, being a great jet fighter pilot. However, as technology advances, we see that the Navy is finding him more obsolete than useful. Despite this, his level of expertise cannot be denied, and his skills top amongst everyone else. Even a drone cannot outsmart him. This is what lets him get called again to Top Gun, to teach a group of promising young aviators the skills necessary for a mission that only a meatbag can pull off behind the flight stick. He meets his team and old friends and has 3 months to pull off one of the biggest missions and most dangerous he's ever had to pull off as a fighter pilot. One could almost say that this mission was impossible. Let's move on to the signs and symptoms, please. Let me start off by saying it. Tom Cruise is an amazing actor. From the 80s up to now, he's still putting out banger after banger after banger. One of the reasons I love this movie is simply because of him. He brings such gravitas to his character, such a rebellious, young yet old spirited mind that is hard to change in his ways, but you have to respect what he does. Everything in his character, to the way he teaches his students, to the way he pulls off most of the things he does in the movie without spoiling anything, will blow you away. I'm sorry, above everyone else, he was the best character in this thing bar none. He carried this movie on his shoulders and he did it with one hand. Like, you can't help but back him up, and when you see what he brings to the table, you actually understand why the Navy has kept him in their good graces for so long. Each scene I watched with him was epic, and that is basically all I can say. I have to move on to other things, otherwise this is just going to be me praising Tom Cruise. But it makes me wonder, Scientology must have something to it, huh? The other supporting cast like Miles Teller and Glenn Powell are also really good in the movie. They bring a nice little rivalry between their characters, Miles Teller being Goose's son Rooster, and Glenn Powell being the arrogant, cocky dude that is mostly out for himself. And my gosh, the arrogance made me want to slap Glenn Powell a couple of times in this movie. The rest of the team also do a great job in their parts, and you can watch them grow and really build that team dynamic with their supervision of Maverick around them. Another thing I'd like to talk about, again, is that they also have a very, very respectable cameo for Iceman, aka Val Kilmer. It almost made me choke up, honestly, because I didn't think he would come back to the screen for this, but what they did for him was very respectable and I loved it. It made me just feel this movie a lot more. Please watch the previous movie to understand what I mean, and also go watch the movie Val, which I'm sure I'll talk about one of these days. Then, now we can move on to the musical score. I really love the intro score of this movie. It really gave me goosebumps and it was just perfect. It went so well with the tone of the movie and kept me motivated and all that. I loved it. Now we move on to the cinematography. The cinematography was amazing. They actually used real jets in this movie to film most of their scenes, and you can feel it. Whenever you're watching them do anything in the jets, you actually feel like you're there with them. The gripping nature, the way they struggle to stay conscious with the daring moves they do, it really takes your breath away. It gave me goosebumps as I watched this movie. And I felt the intensity, the action, everything. It's not like a crazy, blowing up thing like what's that guy's name again? The Transformers dude. Yeah, that dude. Yeah, thanks guys. You can't just go around blowing up things in this movie. And I understand that they never really put a protagonist to this movie, as in you just know that America is going after country B and we're just hoping it's not Russia. And just to keep everything all straight and clean. But that was the only issue I had with the movie, honestly, that they never really directed why the other side is building this and which country it is, or bring any real villains to this. But I honestly think that didn't matter because the way they handled everything from beginning to end was just top notch. I also have to address one more elephant in the room, and that was Jennifer Connelly. As much as she was a sweet, caring, supportive character, I don't think she was really necessary for the plot. I feel she was mostly added there just to give, Maverick a romantic interest, and just so we can have him have like a bit of a happy end at the end of the movie. But other than that, if she wasn't around and maybe someone else was, supporting Maverick, I feel it would have done a lot better because I feel she was kind of shoehorned in. And she did a good job for what she was given, but yeah, I think that's one of the things that detracted a little bit from the movie. But that's it. Those are my signs and symptoms. Let's now move on to the diagnosis. As you can tell, I love this movie. From start to finish, my breath was taken away. I loved it so much. Yes, there were a few scenes here and there with Jennifer Connelly that I didn't feel were necessary, but still, it really just was breathtaking. I just loved everything, and it was a perfect movie. One that brought me back to my 90s. And I know people say, oh, you're growing old and stuff, but trust me, the 80s and 90s were the years of proper action movies. It felt real. There wasn't any serious, stupid quips that detracted from the movie. The dialogue was great. The action was great. Everything just flowed well. And that's why I'm saying this patient is a supreme patient. Honestly. I know I give those a lot easily, but when I really do love it, this is the top movie for the year for me. And I'm not taking that lightly. Especially with all the bad movies we had last year. And I think I'll talk about that. How reboots have been fading. But this is the first reboot where I actually can say it gets my seal of approval, and I wish Hollywood learns more from what they've done with this movie. Let's go on to my recommendations. In terms of my recommendations, I honestly can't say much because this movie was done so right. This is one of the rarest occasions where a sequel actually could be better than the actual original movie. And I'm not saying that just to be silly. This movie was better than the original Top Gun. And my recommendation is stop it there. I don't want to grow 20 more years older and find that this Top Gun whatever, Rooster or something like that. Let it die. This was the perfect movie, perfect way to end Maverick's tale, and I just hope that this is the end of the line. I know that people love to overdo franchises. I mean, look at The Matrix, Coming to America 2, Home Alone. I really need to talk about those movies, but that's for another time. I also have a Fast and Furious review that I'm planning to do because that's another franchise that has kind of grown a little bit too much in a bad way. So yeah, that's it guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I'm really sorry for this late one. I've had a lot of problems during these past weeks. It's hard to be a YouTuber in Malawi. I mean, we have constant blackouts. I've had to do with staying on fuel lines for like 8 hours to 9 hours a day to not even get any sort of gas or fuel in my car. And car broke down and so much crazy stuff, and I've also been accepted to school. So there's a lot going on in my life, and I will still try my best to push out a video whenever I can. All I ask is for your support and for your, sharing my stuff to other people. Thank you so much anyway for everything you guys do, for the people who click like and comment on my videos. Thank you. Please do that now. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you'd like me to review for you if you want, and I'll do my best to watch it. But anyway, I'll close it there, and thank you for watching. Till next time guys, on to the next page.